Hello, welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System. My name's Terry Ellis. I'm an audio reviewer and Dirac Live calibrator. In this video, I'm concluding the review for the Eclipse TD510Z MK2 speakers that you can see obviously here to my right. Now, by concluding the review, I mean that if you've come to this video first, this is actually the end of a full review series. There's an introduction video, there's 4 song demonstration videos, and there's actually a full written review on the website. So I'd suggest you go to the start, and I'll link that video up here. Watch all the way through the review series, and so by the time you get to this video, it will all make a lot more sense. So the Eclipse TD510Z MK2 is quite a mouthful in terms of the product name, but that name actually means something. Obviously the 5 is actually the series of speaker. This is the 5 series, there's the flagship 7 series. And why is that important? Well, if you want to marry the accompanying subwoofer with these speakers, then you'll want the subwoofer from the 5 series. The 1 and the 0 is actually a 10, and that is how big our driver is, 10 centimeters, which is obviously about 4 inches. The Zeppelin, maybe, because of the shape. No idea on the Z, I just made that one up, and if you can think of a better one, please leave it down below in the video description. Mark II, and I'm pretty sure you can guess what the Mark II part actually means. So the Eclipse, I'm going to call them the Eclipse from now on. The Eclipse TD510 MK2s actually retail at just under £2,000 per speaker, and quite often you'll see them sold as individual speakers. Now, some of you might think that seems a little strange sitting at home, but actually when you think about it, these speakers are very well suited to multi-channel or home cinema purposes, in which case you'll be happy and glad you can buy a single speaker if you want to use one as a center speaker. So as a pair, they retail at about £3,840 at the time of this review, and that includes the dedicated stand. So besides the obvious, what do we actually get for our hard-earned money? Well, we get a very unique and specially designed speaker chassis shape, which is designed to largely eliminate any internal standing waves and also to prevent any diffraction of sound from the speaker baffle. The Mark II version of the TD510 has a 14% larger internal volume, which actually helps with the back pressure on the driver, which improves the speaker's impulse response. At the front, you can see, as I already mentioned, our 10 centimeter driver, which is made from fiberglass. And it has a big rubber surround so that the actual driver itself doesn't make any contact with the cabinet. The driver has a specially designed magnet circuit to create a very powerful magnet system, which is attached to an optimized voice coil. The driver is actually mounted internally on a diffusion stay. This is essentially so the driver is actually sitting there in like a floating mechanism. So no vibrations can pass to or from the cabinet in any way, which will stop any cabinet coloration. Behind the driver is a mass anchor. This high mass weight is placed on the back of the driver and it acts as a ground, helping it to stop really fast. The stands themselves are a custom design and they are very heavy. They are made of a combination of extruded and die-cast aluminium. They have extensive damping, so there's no need to fill them with kitty litter, and on the bottom of the stands there are 5 bullet-shaped spikes. These help to isolate the speaker and isolate the cabinet and essentially isolate the driver. In a similar fashion, on the top of the stand there are only 3 spikes, so there are essentially only 3 points of contact between the stand and the speaker cabinet. This is again another measure to prevent the transfer of vibration, again to stop any coloration to the sound. While we're talking about the top of the speakers, this mechanism here is very clever. It's literally a case of slightly unscrew it, and then as you can see we have a large range of adjustment for the speaker themselves. Literally a case of unscrewing the main bolt, adjusting the speaker angle and tightening the bolt. Now the beauty of that is that the speakers can be angled for different listening distances. So if you listen further away, sit on a higher or a lower chair, there's quite a lot of angle adjustment to get just that perfect sweet spot. And there's one other area that I haven't mentioned. These are a single driver speaker, which means there is no crossover. Having no crossover means there's no crossover distortion. The Eclipse TD510Z MK2 have a sensitivity of 84 decibels, but because there is no crossover, they're actually very easy to drive, and they have a maximum power handling of 50 watts. Speed and quality of application is more important with these speakers than outright power. So on that point, I just want to talk about the setup of the Eclipse speakers. I felt because they're designed in a certain way, I actually wanted to try and give them as much opportunity to show off their core strengths to me in this review period as I could. So I actually pulled them quite a long way out into the room. So that was to allow them to produce a soundstage with as much three-dimensional depth as possible. And having heard them previously at shows, I knew that they were very capable of producing that type of soundstage. A speaker that's fantastic at doing a disappearing act is always more likely to be able to create that type of soundstage. And sitting very on axis with the speakers turned out to measure exceptionally well when it came time to set them up with Dirac Live. And when you look at the Dirac Live graphs, you can see that they've got a fantastic extended treble, which might surprise quite a few of you considering it is a single driver speaker and there is no tweeter. That is extremely impressive. What's not so impressive is the bass response from the speakers at that point in this listening room. As you can see from the graphs, the bass is rolling off from really the lower mid-range region, about 200 hertz. Now it does roll off extremely smooth and really points the finger at using one of the Eclipse dedicated subwoofers to take over from where the speakers roll off. Now the reason you would want to use one of the dedicated Eclipse subwoofers is because they are designed to be extremely fast and have a really good impulse response to match the speed and again the impulse response of these speakers. But what really does all that technology, design, measurements actually sound like? The Eclipse speakers, they don't look like conventional speakers, and in the main they don't sound like your traditional typical speakers. At around the £4,000 price point, you can buy lots of speakers that will have multiple drivers, that will give you loads more bass, that will give you a bigger and more perceived dynamic visceral experience. But that's not really where the appeal of these Eclipse speakers actually is. The appeal of them is what they don't give you. They don't give you any cabinet coloration. In the very large part, they don't give you any sonic excess. Think of it like someone's given you a steak for a meal and yet they've trimmed off all the excess and all the fat. Now that meal at first may look small, what you're actually getting is the best part of the meal. And in doing that, these speakers give you fantastic insight into the music production, into the musical instruments that are being played, into the way the music's been recorded. And for some audiophiles, that is going to be absolutely ideal for them. And as I've said throughout this review, I think they give the audiophile an intimate musical experience. The speakers sound for the most part relaxed, stress-free. There's loads and loads of micro detail, but it's presented in a relaxed and stress-free way. The stereo imaging doesn't feel quite as wide as some other speakers that I've had in here for review, but it is perfectly in keeping in terms of the overall size of the sonic picture that these speakers create. These are speakers that take music reproduction very seriously, but at the same time put the right type of music through them, and they're also still a hell of a lot of fun. So my final thoughts, I am in admiration for what Eclipse have done here and what they've tried to do here and the type of speaker they've tried to create here. I actually really love the build quality. I love the feel of the materials that they've used. The speakers feel really premium, really high quality, built to last, heavy, solid, well engineered. The materials they've used look really lovely, and the colour, I particularly love this colour. I really love the mechanism that they've used to attach the speaker to the stand. It's really novel, I've never seen anything like it before. But do I love how they sound? Well, in bits I do. I love how accurate they are. I love how free the sound is of the speakers, and I love how connected I feel to the music. However, in this room, with the speakers out in the room, I 100% needed a subwoofer with them. Now, I could have had a subwoofer here for review. It was my choice to not have the subwoofer and just review the speakers. So I'm very mindful of that fact, but I just think it's an important point to get across. In the song demonstration videos, I used Dirac Live to create a more full range sound, but that did limit the volume that I could push through the speakers, and it did kind of limit the music that I could play back through them. So that's not a solution that I would want to do long term, but it was a good solution for purposes of this review. But I'm confident with one of the Eclipse subwoofers I could have got much better overall scale, dynamics, and probably more impressive and visceral sound from that as an overall speaker system. And on that note, I'm going to finish this review with my main recommendation. These are a must audition speaker system if you're considering buying speakers around this price point, with the caveat of if you want big blasting fireworks, these are not the speaker for you. If you want musical accuracy, musical insight, detail, and a coloration free sound, these are speakers you must audition. And I think ideally audition at home in your own listening room, maybe with and without one of the Eclipse subwoofers. And the reason I say that is because these speakers do things that other speakers around this price point are just not going to do. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope you've enjoyed this full review series. Don't forget there'll be a full and more detailed written review on our website. Make sure you go and check that out. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up and leave us a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and make sure you click that notification bell so that you get a nudge every time we create a new video. There's lots of really interesting and great videos coming soon, and I'll be back soon with more reviews, news, technical stuff, and more. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.